Hello, YouTube. I hope you guys are doing well. This is Seth, your local real estate agent here in San Antonio. And today, what we're going to be talking about is what to expect when purchasing a home. So stick around and hopefully you learn something. So, what we're going to go through today are the 5 easy steps for you to purchase your first home. And so, step number 1 is going to be speaking with an agent. An agent is going to be able to direct you for the following steps and help you along in the process. There are some things that you can do by yourself, for example, maybe going to an open house or looking at things online. But the reality is, once we start getting into the transaction, you're going to want to have an agent that's representing you so that we can talk about the documents, we can explain the process, we can go through the transaction with you to help you make sure that you get the best property for you and your family. And so that brings up step number 2, and that's to speak with a lender. A lender is going to be the person that you're going to discuss all of the financials with. And so there's certain things that can affect your ability to purchase a home. So for example, your available capital, how much money you're going to be putting down, your credit, as well as the type of loan that you're going to be actually getting, whether that's a conventional loan, an FHA loan, or maybe you've had service and you're going to be getting a VA loan. All of the different types of loans are going to be affected by your current situation, and the lender is going to be able to give you the real broad as well as the specifics of what you can actually afford and purchase. So another thing that's going to be affected when speaking with a lender is your current debt. So they look at your debt to income, they look at your available funds, they look at your credit. Once all of those are compiled, they're going to give you what's called a pre-approval. That pre-approval is how we are going to start our searches, which brings us up to step number 3. Let's start searching. So each individual has preferences that they like and that they don't like. Maybe you have bad knees and you don't want a 2-story home. Maybe you have a lot of dogs and you want a nice big yard. It's important that you speak with your agent, talk through the things that you really want in a home and things that you would be okay to let go of. So as we begin those searches and start looking at homes, somebody like myself, I'm going to give you guys some sheets that you can go through, that you can mark what you like and what you don't like. And we're going to start narrowing those searches down. And once we find you the home that you and your family want to put an offer in, that brings us to step number 4, putting in an offer. So it's important that we go through this transaction the right way and putting in an offer that's going to work for your family's needs. Now, San Antonio is currently in a buyer's market. That means you have a lot more room to be able to negotiate, to get seller concessions, that you can get seller repairs. These are things that happen in a buyer's market. And if you are looking to purchase, now is a great time as a buyer to be able to purchase. So we've gone through our searches, we've spoken with the lender, and we find you the right home. When we put an offer in on that home, it is going to be something that we discuss in terms of the numbers. So I'm going to give you what's called a CMA. That CMA is going to go through the market, see what things have sold recently, see what is available in terms of comps in the area. And as we go through that, that's what's going to help us determine what is a good price to actually offer for that home. Now, certain things also affect an offer. For example, if it's been on the market 1 day versus 100 days, you're going to have a little bit better luck depending on the situation on how long it's been on the market. How much does the seller want to sell? So a lot of those factors are going to be kind of contributing to the process of our offer. If it's an investor trying to get the most bang for their buck, they might hold on to it until they get a better offer. If it's a family maybe in need and really needs to sell to get to their new home, they might be a little bit more lenient in terms of the offers that are accepted. So that's putting in an offer. And that brings us to step 5, the transaction. So as we go through this transaction, there's going to be certain milestones, certain checkpoints that we want to make sure that we do. So if this is your first home, it's important that we go through some of these terms so that you understand what they are, what they mean, and how they're going to affect your life and the transaction moving forward. So we're going to start with an inspection. The inspection is going to happen during our option period. An option period is going to be a time frame that we discuss that you are able to get this inspection done, that you're able to get any tests or checks done on the home, and give you the time to be able to back out if something pops up. So the inspector is going to go through the home. They're going to look at different things in terms of roof condition, appliances, the way that the home is structured. It's a general, so they're going to kind of go through all of these different parts and then give you an inspection report. And as an agent, of course, I'm going to go through that inspection report with you so that we can discuss things that we might want to do for seller repairs. Maybe the home checks out and there's a few caulking issues or things that we need to put together, no problem. But maybe something major comes out, like there's roof damage, and you still want to move forward with the home, but we want to make sure that we get those things fixed before we actually purchase. And so that brings up seller repairs. So now we're in our option period, we've had our inspection, and then we are going to put in for seller repairs. The seller repairs can be major, like a roof, and they can be small, like patching a hole or fixing a doorknob. It's just going to depend on the home, the situation, and it's also going to kind of depend on our offer. So if we give a full price offer, you'll know that you're going to have a little bit more leniency in terms of the seller repairs because you gave them exactly what they wanted. Whereas on the other hand, if we get a lot off of the top price, we bring the price down, we get seller concessions, we get title paid for. If all of these things take place and the seller is paying for, you might have a little less luck getting some of the seller repairs needed. And so that's the first part of the transaction. That's going to happen within, say, the first 1 to 10 days during our option period. As the transaction moves forward, you're going to need to get what's called an appraisal. Appraisal is going to be ordered by the lender. The lender is seeing how much is that home worth. And so there for a while in 2021, 2022, we noticed that homes were selling above an appraisal. That can be very devastating as a buyer because that means that you're going to have money come out of pocket to purchase that home. So our goal is to make sure that the appraisal comes in below, and that way we know that you are getting a good value for your home. And a lender is only going to give you the value of an appraisal. So if the value comes in low in terms of if the appraisal comes in, say the home is $100,000 and the appraisal comes in at $80,000, that's going to be a little bit of a hindrance for you because you're going to end up having to pay that additional $20,000. So that's inspection and appraisal. And as we continue to move through, at some point we are going to get to the closing table. We're going to go through all of the documents. So as an agent, I'm going to walk with you through what your contract says, through what these amendments say, through actually going through and getting your inspection report, talking through what each of these parts mean so that you as a buyer have a full understanding and know exactly what it is that each document says, that each section, that each part of the transaction is. I'm going to walk with you through those things. Now, when you get the closing, when we go to the closing table, They're going to go back over all of the documents that happened during the transaction. They're going to give you your closing disclosure, walk with you and talk with you about how much is needed at closing. And once it is closed, we're waiting for one final step, and that's funding. So as soon as we go and we get done with closing, we're going to be waiting, and the moment that it funds from the lender, you are now going to be the proud owner of a new home. So I hope you learned something today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. There's going to be lots of videos talking about different things in the real estate transaction, walking through and making sure to help you purchase the right home for you and your family here in the beautiful San Antonio. All right, we'll talk to you soon.